Hello and welcome to the STCfit Learning Podcast. I'll be your host today. My name's Ben Scott. I'll be joined by Jason Galea. Thanks for joining us on our way to create 1 million positive outcomes for personal training clients by 2030. The podcast is brought to you by @STCfit Learning, a page created to upskill and educate PTs and gym nerds. Also brought to you by @STCfit, and that's a place for all your online and in-person personal training needs. If you enjoyed today's episodes, please give us a share and tag on the Instawebs. You can tag @STCfit, @STCfit Learning, @BenScottSC, and @JasonGalea PC. Hope you enjoy the show. All right, welcome everybody, STCfit Learning Podcast. We have our first guest episode in ages.
It's been a long time.
Very, very long time. And we've pulled out all the stops and we've got Hattie Boydle on from the Sports Model Project. Welcome, Hattie.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Prep mode at the moment?
Well, I mean, what do you consider prep?
We're always prep mode.
Are you preparing for
It's always
something?
prep mode. Yeah.
that's
So
it.
I think I got about 4 more weeks till I start the descent into the diet. So if I was to be completely honest with you, I haven't dieted in a long time. It's actually been really interesting. I normally compete every year. So, I've got a year split between 6 months of being in a calorie surplus, 6 months of being in a deficit, give or take. Actually generally be a little bit more. Actually, that's about round about it. By the time I first dieted, built my calories up, spent some time in a surplus, then dieted down. It's pretty much a split. But COVID
changed everything.
messed up my jive,
Yeah.
So it's actually been COVID. I think for a lot of competitors, what I've heard, it's been a blessing in a way of more time, and I've really, really enjoyed eating. I love food, and I've never spent this long in a calorie surplus. And normally by the end of the surplus, I'm like, oh God, I can't wait to start dieting. And this is the first time that I'm like, do I like?
Pretty comfortable.
Not yet, but I'm going to put myself to get uncomfortable. So I'm like, okay, I'm ready. So I've got 4 weeks to get really uncomfortable before I'm like, it's go time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to get the fire burning and step on stage for the first time in 7 years on Australian soil. It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. So that's the power, that's the driver. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah. So obviously competed, but just not in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Cool. So we're going to take a slightly different angle for today's episode. I know most conversations, I would imagine, would be around Hattie the athlete, which we're obviously still interested in, but also Hattie the business owner, I don't know if we use the term quote unquote influencer, all of that side of your life as well. So tell us, just give us a rundown of because I know there's heaps, and I was actually trying to I was going to do this fancy intro and be like, the Sports Model Project and this and this. And I was like, there's too many and I'm going to miss some. So I'm just going to let you do it. What do you actually do?
What do I actually do?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I do so many things. Well, I am the owner of the Sports Model Project, which is an online business that coaches women from all over the world. And my mission with the Sports Model Project is to create a world of resourceful women powerfully supporting one another. I'm huge on community. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. And community is so important for us. And I think with COVID, we've really started to realize, wow, family, community, social engagement, people, we need that. Humans need, the greatest need for humans is connection and safety. And that's what community brings. So I coach a group of women from all over the world. I've got an amazing team of coaches now. I started SMP in 2014, and it was just myself. And then over the years, it's grown and expanded, and that's been, I think we're going to touch on some business stuff today, so I won't go too far into that, but it's been, hard to trust other people for sure. But where it is right in this present moment, it's unbelievable. It's definitely in a position where I never thought it would be. I've got neuropsychs working for me. I've got people that are experts in communication, because what do we know about coaching? It's not me telling you what to do. It's communication. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Most go yes, and then they're like, no idea. And that's not communication, right?
That's
so
epic.
We're trying to, improve communication, the way I communicate with my coaches, the way my coaches communicate with me and to the clients, so that we can have a better client experience. Life is a series of lessons and experiences, as we know, and, my client's experience is really important. And my coach's experience is really important. So I'm the owner of the Sports Water Project, WBFF 2016 World Champion. I just love life, to be honest. I'm a lover of life. I love the environment. I love the sky. I don't know. What else do I do? I love dancing. I love going out with friends. Is
there clothing stuff in there as well?
I have the sustainability collection. Thank you so much, with Muscle Nation. That's something that I'm really passionate about. I always think about, what's my tax on the world? What's my tax on the environment? And, it's a bit of a, controversial thing. I'm a part of a clothing brand, and it's consumer. The thing is, we're always going to be consumers. So I was like, okay, they want to do a collection. There's a demand for it. What can I do that aligns with my values? And it was to reuse materials that's already available to us rather than make more. I'm really, really, really big on that. And I think I had this conversation with my girls this morning. Somehow my calls can turn into environmental extravaganzas. But, if everyone picked up just one plastic bottle a day, just one, if that was your only job in the world, just pick up one piece of plastic that you still need to put in the bin. You don't have to pick up anything else, but if you do, it's a bonus. But if everyone did that once a day, the entire planet, the impact that would have, and it's just like, just one bottle a day, or one piece of plastic a day.
So be less shit.
Yeah.
It's honestly, some changes over time that accumulate to big changes.
Yeah, for sure.
We know this in coaching. We know this in training. You put 1 kilo on each week. 10 weeks later, you're 10 kilos heavier than what you were. You was 10 kilos stronger than what you were when you started.
Yeah.
So, that accumulation, our effort compounds over time.
Yeah.
The 1% that you're going to take, and then you do that 365 days a year. The impact that has. You think about impact.
Yeah. Be a better human.
Be a better human. I think that, as coaches, we're all coaches, and I know you guys have an awesome program. And if we can help people to be more aware of themselves, it all starts with awareness of the self, can we start to become more aware of actually what all our actions are? And I always think of, I'm going to go on a tangent here. I always think of, life like this huge roadmap. When you put up a massive roadmap, we haven't seen them, because we've got the phones now. But if you think of when you,
some people might not know what a roadmap looks like these days.
Google it. But if you look at a massive roadmap, there is thousands of lines of all directions, and I always think of that as choices. And a lot of them lead back to the same destination, but 10 different ways or 100 different ways. And so I always think, okay, well, this bloody roadmap that I'm on, what is the impact of my choices? Because it counts. What we do counts, how we show up counts, and that is so important. And I think when we start to connect with that, everything in your life changes. Everything.
Yeah, so cool. We're only 2 minutes in. There's so many things that everyone will be like, oh, the boys talk about that as well. Not necessarily environmental stuff specifically, but just behaviors, impact, showing up, all of those things. It's really cool to see that message elsewhere as well, not just us banging our heads against the wall. Yeah, we actually have t-shirts that are on the way that are hashtag be less shit. They arrive next week.
Okay.
So that's our slightly what's the word I would use? Maybe more aggressive approach to the same mindset.
The fitness industry, if you haven't noticed, and I'm sure you have, has the ability to be like that,
Yeah. I think it started with the trolley thing, putting the trolley away.
Yeah,
and it took
off.
off.
It's not illegal to leave it behind, but it's the right fucking thing to put it away.
Yeah.
Do it because you should, not because you have to.
Yeah. Cool. So let's talk about maybe how you started out in the fitness industry. So obviously Sports Model Project was 2014, you said. What attracted you to the industry in the first place?
So, to be honest, when I was growing up, I did a lot of sport, but I never thought I would be in this arena, essentially. Funny enough, whether it's funny or not, some of my hardest times in my life have been my greatest lessons. And I went through a pretty hard time in my teenage years, suffering anorexia. And I was hospitalized. And that was essentially the awakening of, wow, there is a lot of miseducation in this field with women. And I was like, I have to change this. It was literally like, you have to be the one kind of thing. And I was like, all right, I'm in this freaking hospital being told when I got to eat, what I got to do, can't see my family, go to bed at this time. And I hate being told what to do unless I've asked you for permission. Like, can you please help me? And so I'm like, right, first things first, I need to get out of here. And the only way I can get out of here is by putting weight on, essentially. So I was like, oh, okay, fine. Put some weight on, did what I had to do, followed through the process, and eventually made it to an outpatient, which meant that my sister could drive me to and from every day. And I essentially escaped that one after a few months. And once I got healthier, physically healthier and a little bit more mentally stable, I said to my mum, I want to help women. And so I was 17 years old at the time. I didn't finish school. I tried to go back and I just kept relapsing. So changed environment and started doing my my PT course. And this was when I was 17. So 14 years ago, 15 years ago. And 2 days after I turned 18, I started working in a gym. And I started working in the most prestigious fitness first that was about. It was the first black label fitness first in the city. And I was so lucky, guys, that I had amazing mentors around me at that time. And actually, Nadia Norman, I don't know if you guys, sorry, I'm so used to talking to girls. Guys have heard of her. She's been around for, gosh, over 15 years in the industry. And she was actually coaching me. She was essentially I was learning under her at the PT Academy, and she put me forward for this new gym. So they had me as like fresh 18-year-old, literally fresh out of the PT course, with all these other Gs, like these amazing guys that have been in the industry for a long time. And lucky, they saw potential in me. Lucky. And I started being mentored under them. And so I was in a gym for about 5 years, actually. So 5 years before I went online. And I think that's missing. Nothing beats hands-on work. Nothing beats hands-on work. And I'm a believer you got to earn the right to do things. You got to earn the right to put the bar on the back. You got to earn the right to be an online coach, really. Some people aren't going to like that. That's what I think, and I don't think many people knew how long I worked in a gym. I actually used to have it's longer than that. So, because the Sports Model Project, when I first started it was in a gym. I had like 100 girls coming in, 5:45 a.m., 6:45 a.m., 7:45 a.m., like 5-6 different time slots, 12 girls coming in per time. And it was like a showdown. It was sick. And essentially what I wanted to create was, I used to do gymnastics. I was an elite gymnast for 9 years, and I trained with my best friends and I competed with my best friends. And so I was really lucky in that time in my life that I learned that competition was me against me. And it was so much better doing it with your friends. Like, we would push each other, like when we were crying. It was beautiful. I actually quit gymnastics because my best friend did. I was like, oh, she's not doing it, I'm done. And I was meant to go to the Commonwealth Games, and I was training at the IAS. My parents were like, you sure you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, she's not doing it anymore. But I learned so many amazing skills from that. And I wanted to model SMP like that, because in that particular time in my life, I didn't really have any support around me in that environment. I had beautiful friends, but not a lot of my friends are in the fitness industry. So they didn't really understand. And I just started competing and I didn't really know anyone. And I was like, oh, it's kind of lonely out here. Like, well, I don't have a community. I'm going to create one. So, I started out, as a trainer when I was 18 years old in a gym, doing all the work, learning under mentors, doing lots of courses. Tony Battaji, who I still work with today. I remember I started doing his courses in 2012. And that was mind-blowing, amazing. And I've done so many of his courses over and over and over again. And then, of course, I've got Sebastian Oreb, aka Strength Coach, who is also one of my great mentors. And I feel really lucky. I've learnt from some really amazing people, Brett Contreras, quite a few people. So, it's been quite a journey to get where I am now. And, Sports Water Project started with 12 girls online, one person. And then I went to 100 girls in the gym, and it's out of the gym. And now, I've got hundreds of girls with multiple coaches because I can't do everything, clearly. Yeah. And now I've got an amazing team of coaches with me. So I like teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, but individual effort creates teams, right? As we know. So it's way more fun doing this with other people.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting. Like, my next question was going to be like, how did it become your main source of income? Because I think someone looks at an Instagram account, for example, like yours, and just goes, oh, well, they did a show and then now they've got clients because they did the show and they won the big show. So now they're really busy. I think it's really cool to be like, no, like you cut your teeth, did the 5 years, you had the full book, you did all the stuff. Were you competing when you first started in the gym?
No, I got introduced to competing actually from Nadia. I was watching her going, man, what is she doing? And she was like, you should do this thing. You'd be really good at it. And I was like, okay. And then like 8 weeks later, I got on stage, had no idea what I was doing. Like so awkward. It was the first time that I'd ever like really followed a structured program. And I think I was 20 years old. So I did 2 years, just kind of doing my own thing and not following a structured training program at all in the first 2 years of being a PT. It's interesting enough, my clients had to follow a program, but I didn't. That was like the introduction to the fitness world. And it's so different back then to what it is now. And everything has to evolve, of course. But, how did it become my income? Interesting enough, I wasn't on Instagram when I first started. It was Sebastian Oreb that was like, you need to get on Instagram and start showing what we're doing. Because I was a fitness model doing essentially powerlifting and heavy circuit training. And that was like it was that. And at the time I became an oxygen cover girl, and my story about anorexia to fitness model came about. And so I was really lucky. I had a number of things that actually helped propel my social media, because I would never pay for followers or engagement, and I would never do a shout out for the girls message me and they're like, shout out. I'm like, well, you've got nothing to offer my audience. My audience want to see badass things. They want to see health. They want to see sustainability. They want to see, going next level, because that's what they're interested in. So to post a bikini girl that doesn't really do any of that goes against what I believe in, which is fine. Everyone, everyone, each to their own. There's something for everyone on Instagram, right? We know this. This is what's great about it. But in terms of like building my social media, it was from performing, from doing things that other people weren't doing. And something that I'm really loving about the social media aspect and trainers at the moment is the impact or the pull towards education. The pull towards actually the things that are getting the most engagement are actually knowledge. So this, hopefully, to anyone that's listening, is like, put out your knowledge and learn more.
Yeah, I feel like people have moved away from that. Like, aesthetics isn't enough right now. It's like you got to show up with some value as well. Like you were saying, like you can't just like shout out for shout out, cool, but what value do you bring? And it's the same with content at the moment. We drive our guys all the time, where it's like, what's the value in that post? And even just like posting facts isn't it? It's like, what value are you actually providing to the person that's reading this?
Yeah, and I really like that. And to be honest, like, you know, I think something I've noticed in myself is, you know, the pressure to keep putting good things out there. You know, to keep writing. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's not good enough, I can't write it. No, that's not. And it's like this, and then I feel like I've got so much to say, but then I don't say anything. And I'm like, oh, this pressure, because I'm like, what can I give? Oh, was that good enough? You know, the good enough shows up for me in that, like, was my writing good enough? Is it good enough content? Is it good enough value? Like, that for me, I find is a challenge, and I love a good challenge, but I also need space to write. I love writing. And actually my Instagram just started as a journal. I just like sharing the things that I was thinking, and, you know, having a really bad eating disorder, it taught me a lot, like human behavior, mindset, motivation, not something we learn. I love talking about that stuff. But sometimes it's just getting it out, and then obviously, yeah, giving value. So I think there's been a big shift, like there always will be. Like you said, aesthetics isn't enough. It's great to be motivated by that. And, you know, I think where you've got two sides of the table with Instagram or social media. It's the act to compare, which can self-destruct, or to look at it and go, wow, what is the body capable of doing? And if I put in enough effort, work, love, consistency, that recipe, I can do it. And some people get there faster. Some people get there slower. It's you versus you, and it's your own journey. And I think, you know, something that I've learned working with a lot of women is that when people are moving towards something, they put the effort and time, okay, time, the big one, most people, you know, unrealistic timeframes, to make it happen. Whereas when people are moving away from something, which is powerful in itself, but there's a hurriness to it. And so, I want to get on stage in 6 months. Well, we know that getting on stage is not just fat loss. That's a part of it. But most people haven't spent the time building muscle. Now, building muscle, easier said than done. We all know this. As natural athletes, it takes a lot more time, and you've got to be uncomfortable. Most people really underestimate time and how much food they can eat, myself included. Yeah. Like, I've learned that. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
With a lot of the roadblocks we come across with the guys we work with, just in terms of like the social media, the posting, the information, the fear of being wrong, the fear of being challenged. Like, do you ever experience those kind of things? Is that like just something that's natural and you've just got to kind of get past it? Or was it just something that was like supernatural to you? Because there's just we just have so many young coaches out there. And like Ben and I have been culprits of it too. It's like you go write something, you're like, fuck, I don't know if I should put this out here. It could be wrong. Someone could say this, they could challenge me. We send it anyway because we don't really care. But there's so many people that aren't, and that's like stunting their growth. So it'd be nice to know what your story is on that.
It's a really great question. It's nice to hear from you.
Ben does a lot of the talking.
I can tell. I was like, when's Jason going to ask me a question?
Waiting for my time.
You know, I think I definitely have that pressure, 100%. I think there's people waiting to shoot you down, and you know, I've had my share of people doing that, and to be honest, touch wood, it's been very small. Like I'm very lucky I got a lot of support, but there's always going to be someone saying something to me. And you know, I think I did a post about this a little bit ago, but like I always get accused of steroids. I always get, like, if I it's like, well, tell everyone what you're really doing. I'm like, I am. I just have. Like, I'm like, have you? Anyway, honestly, I used to be like, oh, what a compliment. Now I'm like, how dare you try and rob my hard work.
You're definitely allowed to speak.
Go for it. That's certainly allowed.
Like, yeah, that, but also like, yeah, putting education out there and information out there. There's always someone that's going to be like, that's not right. And the thing is, there's so much conflicting information out there. There's so many studies that aren't really studies. They're not long enough. They're supporting, you know, the the thesis that they want to support, and it can be really confusing. And my advice, I think, get it proof checked. Find someone that you like. I send a lot of my stuff to Tony. I send it to Bass. I'm like, can you proofread this? Am I right? I trust in those guys' opinions. Because I put things up and Bass be like, hey, that's not right. I'm like, far out, shit, and I gotta go change it. Like, I'm like, all right, okay. Or I've written something and it's like, that didn't come across the way that I intended. Crap.
Yep.
I gotta bring it down. And I guess what I want to share is, don't play small. Don't play small. But also do your research. Have someone for you guys, like if you got your trainers, it's like, let's go over this. Do we have the evidence? The thing is that we're working with bodies. And we've got anecdotal evidence as well. Things that you've applied with your client, and they did the thing. It worked for the period of time that you did it. And then sometimes, and this is what is so cool, because you have science, right? And you also have evidence, and you have anecdotal evidence. And that's that, So
sometimes it works. You just can't say why, but do it anyway.
Yeah.
I've done some funny stuff. I probably won't share on here, but I'm like, it worked. on myself. I'm wearing a guinea pig.
I think it's part of figuring things out. Like, you got to be in the arena. You've got to be trying to figure these things out. If you're not in the arena, you can't work. You can't figure these things out. We've done it so many times. Like evolution 1, then you go look back and it's like, oh, it's not great. Evolution 2 is better. Evolution 3 gets better. Yeah. You understand it more. It's like, if you have this fear of like not putting things out because of what other people think, like you can't figure it out. Mm. You can't start to understand like what your method is or what your business stands for or everything, because you're so worried about what other people think. It's good to know that they're not alone. Like other people think this way too. But like we said before, it only comes from Ben and I. Sometimes it's just like the same voice. So it's good to know like someone with a successful business, successful athlete, still experiences the same things. But it's like, if you know what you stand for, you know what your message is, you know where you're going. It's like, you have to do these things. It's just a necessary thing.
You got to believe in yourself. I mean, the backbone of your success is always going to be self-belief. And, no one should believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And, I've worked with lots of different coaches, amazing coaches, and all of them have had a completely different system. Okay, all the coaches I've worked with, completely different system. They all worked. So if everyone had the same system, there's an issue.
Yeah.
So, and we are all individuals, and some people, like, we all have something unique to give, whether it's how we coach, how we talk to our clients, the emphasis on different areas, the different strategies that we use. Like, this is a massive pond. There's so many people to help. And I think if you're like, the biggest thing is integrity and knowing your values, and systems are really important, is what I'm going to say. Systems do what humans can't, and systems support systems, really. So I think, finding a system that you can track, and then you can go, oh, there's weak links in here, or the system's not supporting what we need to support. That's definitely something I've learned with the business growing. It's like, human error is so easy, so it has to be systemized.
Yeah. Jace, what's the James Clear quote? It's like,
He's the best.
You're the net of your systems, or something like that.
Oh, it's something along those lines. It's like, basically, you live or die by your systems, essentially.
No, I think it's what is it? It's like, you fall to your level of your systems.
That could be it.
Yeah.
Something along the lines of that, and it's true.
Yeah, 100%. So to change directions just a little bit. So, and we've actually spoken about this before. around like the concept of image when it comes to being a coach, particularly like if you're a coach that's presenting and showing up on social media, etc. Talking about like for yourself in particular, we look at hospitalized with an eating disorder. Prior to that, like gymnastics is known for disordered relationships with bodies and nutrition. I think gymnastics and dancing are probably the two that I meet girls and just like, whoa, that's a crazy world to exist in. So now obviously being a competitor in the public eye a little bit, do you still feel the pressure to present an image? How do you do that? Like does any of that go through your mind, or are you just doing your thing?
That's a great question. I think in the beginning, it definitely played a role. I care about the way I look. I'm happy to say that. I love my body. I really enjoy who I am. I enjoy what my body can do. And, it's taken me a long time to get here. In fact, I don't think I would have the relationship that I have with myself without that difficult time. Like I said, it's been a gift. Don't want anyone to go through it. You don't have to have an eating disorder to love yourself. Please don't say that. But, it's been 10 years or 12 years. No, longer, 50 years since my eating disorder. And everything goes through stages. And so I had to wrestle with my body changing. I'm going to share something. Like when I first started training, I loved training, hated muscle. I was really muscular, obviously through elite training. I was doing 32 hours a week. And I remember my sister said to me, "You look like a boy." And so when I started getting muscle again, when I was training, I was like, oh no, am I starting to look like a guy? Am I looking too masculine? And I had to wrestle with that, because then I'd be like, okay, I can't train. And then what I wanted to train, because I loved the feeling of training. I was strong, I was fit, I could do anything. But I was like, I'm still, my body, my image. And then of course, and I got through that, and actually strength training with Bass, strength training, that was like a game changer for me in so many different areas, because I was so focused on the way I looked that when I came to the gym and I had to lift that weight and I had to focus on technique, and it was like so many things, it was like, oh my God, actually it's how I perform myself. And that was like the biggest catalyst for body image change, relationship with self. And at the time I was learning how to track macros, because I was like, how come I can eat half a block of chocolate, but I can't eat fruit? And so I was like, something's not right. It was like I had a level of an awareness now that I was like, okay, what do I need to change? If I want to be an athlete, my goal was to be the world champion. I was like, right, I need to step things up. And, you got to go and do things that you haven't done before to change. So I'm really grateful for that, actually. That was one of my biggest breakthroughs. And so that really did help with changing my body image. Obviously, the big struggles come after competition, where, okay, you get used to being in this crazy condition that after the show, it's like, what's normal now? And something that I absolutely loved about last year is that COVID taught me that I don't need an external demand like a show to look after myself. In fact, my process is fail-proof if I apply it. I don't need to have a show and to count myself down to get ready. Like, I track my nutrition. I have flexibility going out with friends. I'll go out for a drink when I want, and I'm going to train a fucking house down like Monday to Friday, Monday to Saturday. And so I don't need, it was actually so nice to train without pressure. And also go, my physique's still here. Like, actually, this is pretty good, but it took me years to do that. And so, freedom requires a different type of discipline. And that's what I teach the girls. And the discipline is, there's a level of tracking I've got to do. This gives me the body that I love, gives me the body that I get to use, and I enjoy it all year round.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like the, because I've seen very similar with my clientele around the strength stuff. It's like a lot of girls that even still have strength, physique-based pursuits, but it's like, all I want you to think about right now is your performance. Yeah. Just how much weight can you add to that bar for the next 3 to 6 months? And then when they come back out of it, and come back to the physique thing. It's like the relationship, like you said, the relationship with their body has changed. It's more about what you can do, not just what you look like, and what you look like is a representation of what you can do. And we've had conversations before. It's like about like post-comp blues and how like competing and all of that's maybe not for everyone, and you've got to have the right reasons for it. And I always isolate Jason, just like, you're one of the few people
Jason.
Yeah. So, well, it's just, I don't know that many people that literally just look at building a physique as their sport. There's no like connection from what I can tell. Maybe he cries himself to sleep at night and doesn't tell me, but there's no like expression of like a need or a self-worth attachment to his body fat or whatever. It's just like, I just want to be fucking massive, and then I want to be fucking massive and lean, and that's what I do for fun. And I think that expression is really, really cool.
Can I share a story?
Of course.
So, you know, I had a really great lesson with competing. And so 2016, I won the world titles, right? I hit my goal. That was what I was working towards. But what it exposed to me was that I still didn't think I was good enough. I won the world titles and I thought, did I really look the best? And when people would say, well, I actually got a lot of hate actually from that time from Andrea Brazier, who I love her. You know, I got a lot of hate after that, and I was like, oh wow. And then I'm like, maybe I wasn't the best. And I was like, oh my God. And I said to them, what can I do better? What can I do better? Tell me what I can do better. They're like, well, come in a little bit smaller. Da, da, da. And I was like, okay. So, you know, I work my ass off and come in smaller for the next year, and I lose the title. And I was like, oh my God, I've just let everyone down. And I'd said I'd let everyone down because I had this pressure to win again, but more about everyone else. And it just was like me, okay, I just robbed myself of letting myself go, I'm the champion. Yes, I did it. And it was such a hard lesson. I remember like the next day I woke up and I was like, Mum, did I lose the world title? And she's like, yeah, you did, love. And I just burst out crying, and I cried for like 4 days. But in that time, I had the most beautiful messages sent to me. And what I learned from that was, regardless of what I came, I was still a favorite. I was still a champion. I was still, I had still inspired people to be better. I had still, you know, I took all of that away from myself, right? And we do this to ourselves. We rob ourselves of experience, of love, of self-compassion, of success, right? Because we set these standards so high and we become blinded by them. And it was a really, I bloody had to learn the hard way, boys. Bloody hell, I always learn the hard way. But it was like, oh my God. And so, you know, and I haven't won the world title since 2016, but I have never felt less than a champion, actually. I still see myself as a champion because of what I do outside of the world titles. You know, how I like to educate and help people. And, you know, for me now, winning the world titles, it means so much more than what it ever had before. You know, this year I won't be competing at the world titles, but when I do and I win, it's going to be the most beautiful moment for myself, because it's like closing down this thing for me. So it was a really tough lesson. And why I'm sharing this story is, for those of you who are competing, it's not your self-worth. You are amazing, and you've accomplished so much just in the process of getting there. Getting on stage is an achievement in itself, and it's so important to acknowledge that. You know, whether you come 1 on stage or 10th, it doesn't matter. You're not better than everyone else. Like, it doesn't suddenly mean you're like, you know, we are humans and we have our own value, and we have more than one currency, right? We're more than the way we look. We're more than just that number on the stage. Great. It's amazing. It's an achievement to come first. It's an achievement to do all those things, and competition is great. I love competing. I'm fiercely competitive, but it doesn't make up the whole of you as a person. And I think that's really important. Don't rob yourself, or you try not to rob yourself of those, that success that you've accomplished.
Even to celebrate it, like let yourself be the world champion. Like we do it a lot. Like we talk about, we hit our business goals, we hit our personal goals. Like there was a time when we were scared to celebrate those things, and we didn't. And Ben and I made an oath last year. It was like, no more of that. Like we celebrate as a business, we celebrate as individuals. If it's important to you, it's important to me. We acknowledge those milestones, because if you don't, like, I don't know, like, why aren't we celebrating things that are important to us? Yeah, that's it. It's like, what's the point in fucking doing it?
If you can't acknowledge your success, what is the point?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. So it's a big lesson learned there. It's like, it shouldn't be uncomfortable celebrating a fucking win. Like, everybody should just be happy, and you should be happy to do it too, and comfortable to do it too, which is also another thing. It's like, why is it uncomfortable to celebrate something that was so important to you?
That's I use that's 4 3 questions for my girls, and I find these really helpful. I use them on myself, and the first one is, what have I done well? What have I done well today? What have I done well this week? So there's a level of self-acknowledgement, because acknowledgement is powerful. Second one is, what could I improve on? Right? So there's an honesty policy with yourself. Oh, I could probably pull my macros a bit more or whatever. And then the last one is, well, what are my wins? And that should be the one that is like, you gotta share your wins. Like I said, what is the point of doing all this? What's the point of, you're hustling, you guys are working hard, you're staying up late, you're sacrificing friendship or like relationship time and family time and all this stuff to do this thing, and then you hit it, and it's like, to just go, okay, well, what's next? That's robbing yourself of acknowledging like all the work that you've done, and just letting it, sometimes you got to let it sit. You can't let it sit for too long, because then you feel complacent, but like, you've got to let it sit. You've just worked your ass off for an extended period of time. That's important.
Yeah, I think one of the other really cool takeaways there is like, the world champion just basically explains to us that impact was still more important. It's like the impact that achieving the outcome. Like, obviously you have your personal like goals and rewards and stuff, and we're talking about celebrating them, and maybe, like you said, when you win again, I liked that language. When you win again, that'll be different, and you'll experience that a lot differently. But at the end of the day, it was like the impact that I'm having on people that are really close to you, people that are inside your web, people that you don't even know, maybe, that are in sort of your sphere at all, that meant more to you than like just the win, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of people, because I see it in powerlifting too, it's like you go on an Insta bio and it's like, these are my numbers and this is my total, and it's like, what else do you do? Like I see that happen a lot. Like, I want to know and then, because when that goes away, or you have a bad meet, it's like, all right, well, I don't like myself until I compete again. It's like, well, surely I know people like that. And I'm like, you have more to offer than just the numbers that you pulled on the platform. Let's see let's talk about that as well, and be aware of that.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to get stuck on one currency. And we become, we take on that identity. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm a powerlifter. Cool. That's like one little thing in your life. Like, hopefully you're so much more than that. And I mean, Instagram is, you're essentially, I don't want to say the word selling yourself, but like, you're exposing yourself, and you're only exposing what you want people to see. It's really funny, because I'm like, God, I look like such a robot on Instagram. I'm so boring on Instagram. But outside Instagram, I think I'm like so much fun. But, there's only certain things that I feel like I'm going to share or want to share on social media. But, people can become so wrapped up in social media because it's such instant validation.
Yeah.
And, I think that's also something to touch on, because I think rather than think about numbers in terms of like how many people follow you, think about impact and think about how many more conversations or interaction that you're having. That's it. You don't, like, if you think about a lot of people with huge Instagram accounts, they're not really reaching a lot of people, really. The algorithm doesn't do that. But also, who are they really impacting? And who do you want to talk to? Because we can't talk to everyone. My content's not for like a 40-year-old man. Unless I've got a booty shirt. Not kidding. But it's not. Like, I want to talk to young women. I want to talk to women. I even like helping women that are older because, you know, something that I've come to learn is that it might take you your whole life to learn who you are. To actually go, oh, I finally feel like I know who I am. Like, my client who's turned 40 last week was like, I'm 40 years old. The first time in my life, I know who I am. I love myself. Got goosebumps. And I was like, most of us take half our life, if not most of it, to learn to love ourselves, to know who we are. And that's a journey that we all go on. And I think that, you know, if you're someone that wants to help a certain type of person, you've got to know who you're talking to and just know that, like, we're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Yeah. I lose so many, it's always coming and going. And it's like, you know, at first I was like, oh man, getting a lot of unfollows. And it's like, well, you know what? They're not my people. I'm not speaking to them. That's cool. Because I'm not a number of a person.
It's amazing how much impact that has on your business success too. Like, we hid away from that for so long. It was like, oh, make sure we post content for everybody. And then once we let those reins off, it was just like, oh, okay, now people actually want to engage with us. I think the impact thing is super interesting. And we've had this on our podcast with, I think you mentioned Dean earlier about the trolley thing. So shout out to Dean.
Dean and Lizzie, I love them.
Yeah. So Dean didn't even have, at the time, I don't know if he does now, I don't keep track, like no swipe up, no huge Instagram following. But he held our biggest downloads on our podcast for ages, like probably like over 100 episodes. And we had accounts in like the hundreds of thousands and stuff that after him. But it was like the people that pay attention to Dean get so much value from him and he creates so much impact that they just follow wherever he goes. If he shares something, it's like, I'm on it.
And I think you guys through Dean.
Yeah, awesome. Well, there you go. So that's I think that's like what you were saying, there's so much, people get caught up in those follower numbers and the like numbers and stuff. It's like, what impact are you actually having, what connection are you actually making with, particularly, like you said, like the people you want to work with as well, not just everyone. Like for your account, if you want 31-year-old males to follow, just post Lola more. This is the coolest dog in the world. That's my favorite of your content. That's what I tune in for, is just to see what the staffies are up to.
And the sunrises.
Sunrises are also a plus, because I live in suburbia and it's cold in Melbourne.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, like, I'm always checking, like, has my, like, not always checking, but when I do check, I'm like, has my female audience gone up? Because I don't care about a male audience, to be honest. No offense, guys. But I also find it a compliment when a man's like, you're inspiring me to lift more. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, it also is like a real compliment if a man's following me for my work ethic. I find it, I'm truly grateful for. But if someone's like, sometimes like when I put up a post and someone just says like a comment about my physique, and I end up deleting, I'm just like, okay. Yeah. Boring, you know. I'd rather have like someone ask me a question and we can start a conversation around it. So, yeah.
So flying off on another tangent, tell us what a like week, month actually looks like for you. How much of is it like social media, coaching, being the athlete, other responsibilities, educate? You mentioned like educating and stuff now. What's a life look like as Hattie?
Oh God, in this present moment, training and nutrition is, you know, are like my non-negotiables. So normally, if I want to train 3 hours, I'm training 3 hours. When the last month, work has been so busy that I found my training I've cut it short, and I noticed that when I have to cut my training short, my ability to do everything goes down because I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
That I had to leave, because I love being an athlete. Like I said, I'm not training for second place. No, I'm training for first place. I want to be the most talked about athlete that walks out on the WBFF stage. That's what I want. And for me, it's actually interesting. Like, I just want people to be like, did you fucking see Hattie Boydle? I don't care. In a way, like, I'm like, first, second, third, everyone saw that. Yeah, they fucking did. Like, that's what drives me. Like, when I do the world tires, I'm like, I just want everyone to be like, holy shit. So doing the world's doing the WBFF show in October, it's like, well, I'm not training for second place. So this week I've really prioritized training. My mornings always start with work calls. So I do coaching calls with my girls, and so I do group coaching calls. So all the girls in the program, they jump on the call, and I do education, Q&As, coaching, whatever they need. So I do 6 hours of that. Then I've got
Is that every day?
That's so like they're spread out throughout the week.
Okay, yeah.
Then there's like check-in days today, and that takes me sometimes a day and a half to get through everyone. So that can be like 6 hours today and a couple of hours tomorrow. And I also have to do that again on Friday. So there's about 2 days that get taken up with feedback responses for check-ins. But then I also do video feedback or feedback for video. So like at the moment, like my morning day my day will start at 8 a.m. and then I'll finish at like 6 or 7 p.m. And in there is like maybe 2 hours or 3 hours of training. And then either coaching calls with my coaches that I have to do. Coach a lot of calls with my CEO, who essentially, or my manager, to make sure that all the systems are running. I do a curriculum with the neuropsych. So we've got like SMP offers like a mindset program and a mindfulness program. So we have a meditation coach in there that does meditation calls for the girls, because, for me, transformation isn't just physical. Like, that's a part of it for sure. But how many people do we see change their physical, and you listen to them, they're the same person they were a year ago. Like, they're not even acknowledging the fact that they're a whole new being. They're still like, oh, what about this? And this, and it's like, what's the point? Like, really, what's the point of doing all this work if you're not going to acknowledge and enjoy the body that you're in and the machine that you get to work with? So for me, I was like, right, what are all the things that I love in a human experience? Well, behaviors, mindset behaviors, mindfulness, creating space for ourselves, meditation, journaling. And then, of course, we've got nutrition and training, and you guys are probably the same, but it's really hard to unravel relationships around food, maybe in particular with women. I say to my girls, there's no clean, there's no dirty, right? Food is fuel. Literally, when you eat it, it turns into fuel for the body. So think about how you want to fuel your body, but think about how we can do it long term. We want to have a variety of different foods into the diet. So it's like, I have like macro 101 calls. So it's nutrition based. And then we've got, startup calls for the new girls that are starting, got contact hours, which is generally the Q&A. One's based around kind of motivation and food as well, and Q&A, and the other one's around training. And then, I spend, 6 hours a week doing, about 10 hours a week doing programs, program changes, program feedback. So video feedback for the girls. And then sunrise, sunset walks. I try and catch up with friends. I do what's called, I call it friendship calls, because I was looking at my week going, every call that I'm doing is work-based. I was like, I haven't spoken to some of my friends in a month, and I'm a social human being. And I wasn't ready to be a robot yet. So I've been trying to get at least one day a week that I don't do any work, and that it's all friendships, it's all fun. And of course, like sprinkling in, the social media stuff. I tend to be on social media every day, but whether it's quality time, that's another thing. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even time to do that Q&A thing, but I do. I just haven't prioritized it. So, or I'm fluffing about somewhere. Sometimes I get like 200, 250 messages a day, and I do my best to get back to them. And I think, God, what is Lauren Simpson doing? Because bloody hell, she would get like fucking like, I'm struggling here. And it's funny, I used to put out so much more content and coaching out to the public, and actually less in my program. And then I swapped it. So now I do so much coaching and education in my program, which I should be, like, this is what they pay me for. And I do very less, and then that's when I get the pressure of, oh shit, have I done enough? And I find myself in that little roller coaster. So I guess it's all about having space and being organized, and sometimes I voice note things to myself, or I start writing things and I never actually send it, because maybe sometimes it's just a bit of just to get it out. But work's really busy at the moment, and I'm really grateful. We've got an amazing group of girls. I often feel like I know the nicest people in the world, and that's my clients included. But to be honest, I had a bit of a breakdown last week. I was like, I can't keep doing this, because now I've got posing. I've got hours of posing now for the girls, which is great, but it's like, oh, where am I going to find time to, where's the week going? Oh, and so, something that I've learned is that I haven't worked this hard to not enjoy things. Like, I've worked really hard for a long time, and when we're really enjoying work, it shows in the way we show up. And so last week I had a bit of a breakdown. I was feeling pretty buggered. I was still catching up from sleep from the week of the WBFF. I put on like big photo shoots for the girls, which is amazing, but it's just a lot of work. Plus on top of the extra work that I got to do. So I hadn't quite caught my breath. And then the weekend I had a day where I didn't do any work. And then Monday I was like, all right, give it to me. What do you need? I've got it. Yeah. Okay. Fit it in there. And I was like, oh my God, I was like an octopus. My capacity to do all these things, like things last week, I was like, I can't do it. And this week I'm like, what do you need? Posing, yeah, get it in there. Like, it's so funny. And it's just really important that we're humans, and we're all very probably really driven. We've all got high standards of ourselves, but high standards without self-compassion becomes self-bullying, and it's easy to kind of get into that. It's really easy how interesting it can be to be negative. But I think, having space with friends and people that are, have nothing to do with work. It's, going out for a drink, like, it's okay when people are like, oh, you drink alcohol? It's like, barely, but yeah, I do. Because like, I like to have a good time. I like to go out dancing with friends, and I love dancing. Like, it's worth it. Like, sometimes the soul needs a rinse. The cup needs to be full before it can be emptied again. And so, and even like structuring my business so that I can have time off. At the moment, I'm like, I can't have time off. That's not, if you're always in the business, if you're always working in the business, you're not working on the business. And I find myself getting really deep into the business because I find it hard to let go of things. No, I'll do it. No, I'll do it. No, I'll do it. I'll do it best. I'll do it. But then it's like, if we don't let other people learn, we're not helping people grow. And in a business, we know that if we've got trainers working for us, they need to grow. So it's unfair. We rob them of their learning. And this is what I had to learn. Like, I robbed my staff of learning when I'm not giving them new roles. I'm not saying, hey, I'm going to do this thing with you, and then I'm going to trust that you can do it. And now, like, one of my staff members, Natalia, she's just a beast because I learned to trust her, So I think, it's really hard to let go of things, but then you can't work in the business, on the business at the same time and expect it to be the way you want it to be.
It's a huge.
Sorry, I'm very good at going on tangents.
No, that was a good one. That was a good one to bring it back to business. Like, it's a big challenge that people obviously face. Like, we were the same. It's like, you want to do everything yourself. You want to keep that personal standard. We still talk about it. We're talking about like 3 days ago. And then we're just like, no, we have to let them do this. What? Yeah, that's it. We're in that situation too. So it's like, let them do it, and we'll just oversee it and make sure it's happening the way that we would like it to. And it's like, and then it's just reflection, improve next time if we need to. Everyone wins.
Totally.
The other thing as well is like, you've robbed this person of an opportunity to learn, but you've also robbed yourself of an opportunity to work on something else, and you've robbed yourself of some freedom. So they're the things to think about when we look at it as a business owner, as someone who's like the tip of the spear, trying to, you know, be the snowplow for everybody else. It's like, you're leading, they're coming in behind you. Make sure you're doing the right things so that they're following in the right direction.
Yeah, totally.
Hattie, I've got a question.
Yes.
Just whilst we're on the business stuff.
Yeah.
Are there like really notable times in your career up to now that you can really think about that, like, just kind of were the reasons why you're kind of here now? Like, were there really notable things that, you know, like everyone kind of looks for these moments where it's like they tip into this like critical mass phase, or they got this extra productivity, or this happened. Did they happen to you, or is it literally a case of just repeated effort over time in the right direction that you wanted to go?
When I first started SMP, you know, I didn't vision it to be like it is now. In fact, you know, I started SMP on my own, and I was doing it on my own. And then my boyfriend at the time here in a gym, and he's, you know, they weren't making much money, and they said, will you put your program in the gym to help sales? I was like, okay, let's do it. And that's when I had the SMP in the gym, and I still had my online. And then eventually it was really hard working with so many different owners. And so then, you know, my partner and I were like, we were like, okay, let's grow it together, and let's grow it online. And so he, you know, there's a lot of arguments, but you know, he did help me really grow the business, and we ended up, you know, because it was just him and I doing sales for my business, and then we ended up getting a sales coach, and we got a business coach, and then we got sales team. And one of my beautiful clients who still works for me, Kat, she's an absolute beast. She now manages the Sports Order project. She manages me and the whole ship. But like I said, now it's like expanded from like one person to 2 people to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, and having someone that has, you know, it's what I love is like having a collaboration of ideas, and being pulled in different directions, and I think just trusting that we have the ability to do something great. You know, I really want to make an impact on the world in lots of different areas. Like eventually I might move out of fitness and just want to do charity or environmental things. I want to do something that is greater than this. But for now, I want to help women. And, you know, there's only a small amount of people that you can work with at a time. So having a bigger audience or a bigger team allowed me to work with more women. And I think it's like, I had to wrestle with the business changing, you know, like, value, like, are we still able to give the value? It was like, I was such a bottleneck. I'm still a bottleneck, you know, for my business in a way. But, you know, like I said, now we've got a neuroscientist who's developed a curriculum to help the girls learn about their nervous system. Like, did I ever think it was going to be like that? I'd always known that I'd done great mindset work with the girls, but this is like on another level, and it's layered. You know, did I ever think I was going to have a meditation coach? No, but now I have the beautiful opportunity to have someone that I absolutely adore, Billy. I call him my heart coach, that teaches the girls meditation practices. I have that in SMP. They don't have to go anywhere else. Like, I'm like, how can I grab all these other things? Like, as I develop, the business develops, just like you guys. As you guys develop, the business develops. And for me, it was like, well, what are all the things I'm interested in? What are all the things that have helped me grow? How do I also work with people that I love working with? And how can I, you know, almost like support my friends who I believe in? How can I work with people that I love? And that's kind of how the business grew. And it was like, yeah, it takes refining. Like, I'm always refining SMP. It has to be upgraded all the time. The systems, the people, the skills. Nothing should ever stay the same. If your business is the same a year later, you're doing something wrong. And it's been fucking scary. Oh my God, getting it to where it is now. Because it's still at the back of my mind, like the more people I work with, the more emotions I deal with, and the more people that I have to nurture in a way and hope and hope that they're having a good experience. It's like, that's the pressure that I feel. It's like, because it means something to me. Someone's experience working with myself and my team, and it's really easy to drop everything for someone that's not happy. But then, and it's easy to almost block your ears to all the ones that are happy. Like, again, we can't please everyone. And when there's two people involved, there's two responsibilities, mine and that person, or on the other side. And what I've learned is that I can get the brunt when there's all these other things going on and they're not following through with the process, but it's my fault, so, and it's just what I've learned over the years is that not to be offended and to know that there's something else going on in someone else's, world. And well, what can I do? I can only do what I can with the communication I'm given and the investigations that I can do and what's in my scope of practice as well. Because at the end of the day, we're not psychologists, and there are things that we can't help people with because it's also not safe for us either. We're dealing with emotions, and it's easy to get invested in people's emotions as well and go on the roller coaster with them. And that doesn't give them a better strategy, and it doesn't give them a better outcome. And I've had to, that's something that definitely had to learn. It's like, take a step back, investigate what's going on, ask questions, right? Don't be reactive. So I'm really grateful in how the SMP has evolved. I love my team. I work with really interesting people. And SMP has been life-changing for so many women. That for me is what the job is about. Life-changing.
So do you attribute that sharp increase of growing your team and all of that post the business coach kind of going out seeking expert opinions and stuff, and then adding a sales team, that was maybe the crux of the increase? Or would you correlate it more to, like you mentioned, the oxygen cover and all of that sort of stuff?
Both really, but I've invested so much money into my business, so much money in contractors, in web development, in app development, in the neurosite curriculum. I've spent a lot of money. I've barely pulled money out of my business for myself or my business partner, because it's all about, how much can I get in to build it to where I want to be and pay my staff and give bonuses and all that kind of stuff, because I need my staff to continue to develop. And it's an accumulation of things. I don't have a business coach at the moment. I stopped. I was like, I've got this, I can do this. I know how to coach the sales staff. I've got amazing systems. I learned, it's like, pay for someone, go in, get what you need, and then, you pull all the other things that you need to do because you want to create the business the way you want to create it. And you learn from people. We learn from people. So it's, social media, putting out really great content, speaking to the people that you want to speak to, because that's who you want to help. That's ultimately who you want. Yes, the oxygen cover girl stuff, that was 7 years ago. So that was helpful in terms of my social media at that time. But yeah, I think, I've been doing this for so long that, it's just over the years, I've built a really good database, email base. Don't underestimate the power of emails, guys. Anyone listening, email database. And then continuing to, I think everyone puts a lot of effort, people do courses after courses after courses, but you need to implement the course. It's that's great, but
Quoted us.
Do a course and
implement
it for a year. What else is there to learn? I think people are like, I've got to learn everything at once, but if you learn everything at once, you don't actually learn.
Yeah.
You don't really apply it. So I also like think that, you know, a business coach, if you like, I never knew how to run a business. I needed a business coach. I was so like, yeah, okay, whatever, yeah. No systems. People owed me so much money in the beginning and I had no idea. Like everyone was like, Hattie, you should be making this much money. I was like, what? Like, I still don't even look at my bank account. I like, whatever. I'm just I'm all into the, what's actually happening in the business, but, don't do what I do. Like, look at your accounts. It's very important, guys. But I think, yeah, impact, be willing to learn and like we learn from experience, right? If you're not going to go, like you said, step into the arena, how are you going to learn? Yeah.
So I'm conscious of your time. So one more if we can, because I think obviously the industry, I think, is actually shifting from being maybe more male dominated, but I'm seeing maybe a shift of like more and more female coaches coming through, which I think is good. From a successful female coach, what do you think are the things that stand out to you that you would pass on to a newer coach, maybe in their first 1 to 3 years, that you found to be super valuable, looking through the lens of being a woman in the industry?
Get mentored. Apprenticeship or mentorship. I think that's like, I think, you know, invest in a mentorship so that, because there's only you learn so little in the PT course. Work in a gym, have a really, really supportive environment of people that want you to do well. So have a head coach that wants you to eventually be the head coach. That's what I would like. Your support network is so important. Environment is so important. So yeah, really make sure you're in an environment where they're offering, I know that like there's a few gyms now, like quite a lot of gyms now that are like, because it's so competitive now, you have to up your game. But don't be scared by that. Like I said, we all have our own individual gift. People want to come and work with you guys because they like who you are. People will come to work with me because they like who I am. But definitely don't be afraid to spend a year making less money so that you can learn more. Because as soon as you've got the knowledge, girl, like you're in. You got the confidence in the ability to talk to people, to watch people, to problem solve. You know, I think people aren't willing to do, I'm going to call it the dirty work, but it's not dirty because it's learning. It's like working under someone, being paid less, doing the harder hours. There's such a gift in that. Like, do that in the beginning, learn as much as you can, be a sponge. And then, yeah, just continue to work at it with really, really great people. Yeah, having a mentor was the best thing I ever did. And what's really interesting, guys, is 6 years later, when I had my business in the gym, or 6 years later, he came and worked for me in the Sports Hall Project. He was one of my coaches.
Yeah, that's mad.
I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And he's Brendan Harris, if you guys ever know of him. You know, he's not on social media, not his thing, but he's an absolute G. And I learned so much from him as well. So yeah, definitely mentorship, apprenticeships, be a sponge, willing to learn, be patient with yourself. You know, something we touched base on earlier was, you know, body or image and coaches. I don't think that every person has to look like this to be a good coach. In fact, that's not, but I think that everyone should be working on something. Yeah. I think that coaches or personal trainers need to know what it's like to be in the trenches, whether it's, you know, being a cyclist or a bodybuilder or a powerlifter or some sort of a sport where you got to learn grit. You got to learn how to have discipline, because how are you going to teach some discipline when you can't exercise it yourself? That's what I believe. I don't believe you have to look like this or, you know, a certain way. That's our own internal stuff. If you want to, great, learn how to look like that, you know, do the work again. But there's so much learning in competition. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, it's huge.
Good lessons.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Thank you very, very much, Hattie. That was super valuable, I think. It's hilarious how many messages came out that Jason and I were like
so good,
unknowingly eyeballing each other through the Zoom call, like tick, 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 all the same things that we say. So it's
it was good as.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. As you probably noticed, I can talk. Once you get me started, I'm like, oh no.
This makes for an easier afternoon for us.
Episodes are for that.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Guest episodes are for you guys to do the talking.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to hear from you, Jason, because I actually haven't met you. Well,
we haven't chatted. I try on social media. I'll just put it like that. I try.
There's no trying. What is it?
Do or do not. There is.
Well, I do. I just don't know how well.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So where do we find you, Hattie? So socials, website, etc. How do people go and find out more about you?
The easiest to get in contact with me is my Instagram handle, which is Hattie Boydle. If you don't want to contact me, email me. I would say emails. So Instagram's probably the best. Got my website, www.sportsmodelproject.com. I've also got the sportsmodelproject.com. No, sorry. It's _sportsmodel_project for Instagram, which is also really easy to contact me and my team. And that's probably the best way.
Can't find you after that. They may as well just give up.
Yeah.
You can email me, but I'm not going to respond. I'm kidding. I do, but it's the longest.
Yeah.
If you want an instant response in the day, Instagram me.
I'm the same. People are like, can I have your email? I'm like, you can, but you better just send me a message here. Could be a couple of days.
Mobile.
Can I have your number? You can have my email.
Yeah. Awesome. Really, really fun. So if you want to obviously find us at STCfit_learning, at Ben Scott _STCfit, and at Jason Galea STC, and you'll find all of us. But yeah, share this one, guys. Give Hattie a tag, obviously, and us, so we can get this one out. There's heaps of just valuable messages in here. So let's get this one out to as many people as possible. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Hattie.
Thanks,
See you guys next week.